Right, well, thank you all for your attendance. Today is the first of a series of monthly press conferences that I will be delivering on behalf of Council. These will be conducted following each Council meeting that will occur on the third Wednesday of each month. Thank you for your attendance to everyone in the press. Much appreciated. Council has this morning held its first ordinary meeting for the new term of Council. And as part of that meeting, we have made resolutions on a number of matters, of which I'll summarise a few here in this presentation, and then I'll happy to open the floor to questions. One of the first significant resolutions passed by Council today was the assignment of portfolios to respective councillors. Now, portfolios have a very important role to play in that the process of electing councillors is one whereby, as you will all know, councillors are elected under a divisional system where they represent a geographic area or part of our region. However, the Local Government Act makes it very clear that councillors have a significant responsibility to the community to act in the best interests of all people across the region. So in line with the Act, we have assigned to each of the councillors a broad regional focus, which is encompassed in the portfolios that they will be allocated. So the first portfolio is social and corporate performance, includes people and culture, communications and media, finance and ICT, and I will be taking that portfolio, which will be delivered out of the Office of the Mayor. The portfolio of community, arts, heritage, sport and recreation has been assigned to Councillor Potter. Portfolio of rural services, natural resource management, including biosecurity, planning and compliance services has been assigned to Councillor Henshin. Portfolio of parks and gardens, property and facility management, Indigenous affairs, and importantly, a new portfolio of rural resilience has been assigned to Councillor Duff, and local disaster management, water, wastewater and waste will stay with Councillor Froloff. Economic development will now incorporate a number of key economic issues for our region that will go to the sectors of industry, agriculture, water security and tourism. We've deliberately packaged these up under the banner of economic development and assigned that to Councillor Shoemaker, because we believe that industry, development, agriculture, tourism are all key sectors to our economy moving forward. I'm very confident that Councillor Shoemaker will bring the required energy and experience to that space, which is so important to the future of our region. Councillor Jones will retain roads and drainage and will continue to work on implementing the 4-year plan that was developed under the previous council in relation to our road network. In addition to that, Council has also approved today the capping, a 0% increase on all council fees. Now, these fees are independent to those rates and charges that are levied on a resident or ratepayer's rates notice. So these fees and charges, let me be clear, do not relate to rates or charges that are levied on the rates notice. They are independent of that. They are simply the fees and permits that apply to things such as dogs, accommodation fees at tourist parks, and a range of other permits and fees that are charged across council. And to reiterate, as part of our COVID-19 response and as part of supporting our community through these challenging times, Council has capped those fees. So the fees for the 2021 year, commencing 1 July 2020, will be the same as those that were applied in the previous financial year. In addition to that, Council, as part of that resolution, has left open the opportunity for Council to undertake further reviews of those fees so that we can maintain the necessary flexibility and agility required should we need to respond in a more active manner in relation to COVID-19. Now, a lot of the response around COVID-19 will happen on a week-by-week, month-by-month basis. As we all know, none of us know where this is going. So Council has made sure that we've moved to give ourselves the necessary flexibility so that if we need to adjust those fees moving forward, we can continue to do so at any point in time in the future. In addition to that, Council has now also resolved to write off an amount of unpaid rates and overgrown allotment charges. These relate to rates in arrears that have accrued over a period of somewhat 6 years, and an action was taken by the previous council prior to the election to move towards selling off some of those properties. Now, council is moving, as a result of that process, to write off $306,047.87 in unpaid rates and $2,250.47 in unpaid overgrown allotment charges. Now, let me be clear on this. Had council not moved on this, then the $288,568 that council did recover and has now put in the bank would not have been recovered had council not moved when they did. They did need to move to somewhat cut the losses, draw a line in the sand and recover what they did. Now, the process was such that it was a subdevelopment with a number of lots, a total of 19 lots, of which 17 were sold. 2 have been retained by council. Council engaged Taylor Byrne to undertake the valuations and sought at auction to achieve a reserve price in accordance with the market values provided by Taylor Byrne. However, due to market conditions, despite the fact that we had 30 bidders at the auction, which occurred back on the 19th of November last year, council was not able to achieve the reserve price on any of those properties, but did successfully negotiate with only the highest bidder to sell off those properties in order to be able to recover $288,568 in rates revenue. Now, as I said before, let me make it very clear, both, calling on my accounting background and my understanding of economics and the local economy, in light of what's happened since Christmas, in light of the fact that we're now in an environment where COVID-19 has had a significant impact on our economy, we would not have recovered. This council would not have recovered that $288,000 because I am firmly of the view that it would have been very difficult to find a buyer, anyone prepared to invest at an auction at this point in time during the current circumstances. So while it seems a lot of money that we've had to write off, council has bitten the bullet, we have drawn a line in the sand, and we are now focused on moving forward in terms of rebuilding our finances and working into the future. But I must also acknowledge the work that was done by our finance staff here and other members of council in making this happen. It's not an easy process. We did give plenty of time through our due process to the ratepayers, the landholders, to make good. We tried to negotiate with them payment arrangements. We gave them plenty of time to try and sell the properties or to clear the rates debt, but it was only when that clearly wasn't going to happen that we were forced to go to the stage of selling off the properties. Now, those properties would also have been held in the hands of perhaps one developer. Now we've got the properties held in 17 different sets of hands, such that we're now the capacity to pay rates moving forward is much more secured, and we're going to be able to then collect the rates revenue year in, year out on those. So we've not only managed to mitigate the loss, recover $288,000, but we've now got a pool of ratepayers who have the capacity to pay in relation to all of those properties. I think I'll end there. I think that's enough in terms of a quick summary of today's meeting, and happy now to take questions from the floor.
I've got a few questions, Brett, if that's okay. Just in regards to what you were just talking about, where were those allotments located?
They were located at Tobinga, and what I believe is Oasis Drive, near the Tobinga School, across from Tobinga School. The old Oasis Estate, yes, correct.
Now, some questions that I've got here. I believe during the council meeting you may have said that the current staffing levels are 336, is that correct?
Mm.
Okay. We just went back through our figures in our office, and at amalgamation council staff was 426. In 2018 it was dropped down to 322, and at that stage a round of redundancies, not forced but voluntary redundancies, was made at a cost of about $1 million, I believe, to bring it down to 307. At 2019, on the 30th of June, then it was 321, and it's now 336. So it's now a higher level than it was in 2018, when it was 322, when we had to do voluntary redundancies. So how is that growth in council staff justified and the cost of that?
Look, I at this point in time, as you would expect, being new to council, first meeting, don't have the detail around that. I have been given information by our HR department that those numbers are correct, 336. It may well be, you know, it could well be, and I can't say for sure, but it could well be that that was part of a restructuring process whereby we perhaps have staff in different areas, perhaps even on lower levels of salary, and it may be that those redundancies were targeting certain departments where those services weren't needed any longer. But to give you a specific answer, I can't say at this point in time without collecting further information as to how those numbers have grown or where those reallocation of staffing positions have happened.
Okay, and the other question is in regards to economic development, which you've given to one of our new councillors. It used to be a mayoral portfolio in the past council, but Kirsty's got it now. At the August 2017 meeting, an economic development strategy was adopted unanimously by council, which gave some indications of what they hope to achieve in the next 3 years to 2020 to now, including 30 new patents, 3,000 new jobs, a 300% increase in visitor expenditure, in other words, 300% increase in tourism to the area. It was a 2-page development strategy.
Thank you.
We believe the economic development department's costing us about $800,000. That figure may not be 100% accurate, but that's what we've been told in the past. So I'm just wondering if there are going to be new KPIs set for the economic development department so that they can hit the milestones that they have been promising.
Clearly with the new council coming in, we've now got a charter of developing a new 5-year corporate plan. The economic development strategy will form a part of that corporate plan. We're required by legislation to have that corporate plan developed, and it effectively is the overarching governing document that determines where council, I suppose, council's priorities are, where council is going to allocate funding, and that certainly will, the economic development strategy will certainly form a significant component of that, because a lot of things, as we all know, are going to swing off this. Our economic development strategy and the extent to which we can be successful in implementing that has a range of benefits, including the capacity for our region to grow population, which obviously has significant economic benefits for the entire region. Now, we will be, to answer your question, yes, we will be setting very high expectations in relation to the KPIs that will go with that will go to the economic development team, and Councillor Shoemaker will be, as the portfolio holder, leading that process. Other councillors will also be involved, as will the senior management of council. But we believe that with the new council, it's an opportunity to us to start with a blank canvas, certainly learn from perhaps the mistakes or the wins of the past, but to start with somewhat a blank canvas, look at where our region's at right now, look at what the opportunities are, look at what strategic advantages we've got over other regions, and make sure that we're capitalising on those. You will see in the development of the new economic development strategy significantly more consultation and engagement with community, and particularly with the private sector. So that will be a document that will be much more comprehensive, and will represent what the views of the key players in our local economies. I'm very confident that Councillor Shoemaker has got the passion, the drive, the experience and the connection with industry, both agricultural industries, tourism sector, as well as the manufacturing industries locally, to be able to progress that forward. And I believe we've got a lot of good opportunities. You know, we're in a great geographical location. We've got a wealth of natural resources. We've got a lot of intellectual capital in our region, some really intelligent people, and we have got some people who are leading the way. I'm particularly keen to see opportunities that could come out of the COVID-19 restrictions being released, and where that might open opportunities for us in tourism. So we're really working hard with the Tourism Advisory Group and with the visitors, with VSB at the moment, to look to make sure that we've got our house in order when it comes time to open the doors to those new tourists. In addition to that, I think that agriculture clearly has a significant future here. There's a lot of work being done in the private sector in relation to new technologies, new types of crops, and in addition to that, we'll be also obviously looking to pursue attracting those major players, those major large corporate players to the region. And we do believe that we've got some strategic advantages on the basis that we have, geographically, we're well placed in terms of access to the port, access to Wellcamp. We have the land. We are working, as you know, at the moment on the water study to do everything we can to shore up the necessary water to help to underpin the growth of our economy. But in summary, I'm very confident that Kirsty will certainly, as the economic development portfolio holder, have us in a much stronger position moving forward in terms of council's planning and council's involvement and what council brings to the table in terms of economic development moving forward.
If I can just change hats for the moment. I'm Secretary of South Burnett Arts, and we've been pushing for an arts policy for council for years. Is there any chance of there being an arts policy adopted soon?
Well, I don't see why not. I'm not sure why it never happened in the past. Perhaps if someone could shed light on that, I'd be very grateful. But can I say that it was never renewed, right? Councillor Potter is very passionate about this, hence my move to give her arts again. And I'm happy to take that on board and share that with her and start that process. Absolutely. Yeah, look, arts and culture are an important part of any community. Again, we've got a tremendous opportunity. We've got so much, again, wealth of creativity across our region that we need to be capitalising on, giving those people the opportunity. And again, it has economic development benefits. So absolutely support that wholeheartedly. Yeah. I'll make note of it now, in fact.
I just have one question, Brett. It just came up in the meeting this morning about the council's lobbying the state government about the roadside grazing. I was just wondering if you could elaborate on that a little bit, and if the council has a time frame, and how likely do you think it is that they will see a positive result with that?
It's a really challenging issue, this one. Roadside grazing is an impost on our local beef producers that council has been working on, has been concerned about for some time. The system works such that the levy the amount of the levy is set by the state government, and then we're required by legislation to charge that to any roadside grazing activities that happen obviously on the roadsides, around the footpaths, and on any stock routes. Now, it's not something that we're particularly comfortable with, as you would have gauged this morning. Some councils, many councils in fact, are choosing to apply their own fees and charges over and above what the government's levying, so that it's actually a revenue stream for them. As a council, we've always chosen to simply levy what the state government tell us we have to. Now, effectively what that means is we're a levy collecting agency for the state government. We are going to lobby this issue with the government. It is a challenging one because different regional councils have different perspectives on this. Not every regional council wants to get rid of it for obvious reasons, but for our council, we would see that the next 6 months in terms of a time frame is when we would like to get a resolution to this. Certainly I would like to think that before next year's budget comes down from the state government, that we've got some sort of resolution on this. Now, if we can't, council is already having a discussion as to how we can perhaps work to provide some assistance, some concessional assistance to graziers in this particular space. We just haven't worked that out yet, and it's a challenging time to do it when we've got the impacts of COVID-19. But when we come out the other side of COVID-19, council is keen to look at how we can perhaps support those graziers, because at the end of the day, having those cattle graze on the side of the road is actually doing us a favour. It's reducing the cost for us of having to slash those roads and maintain them, because the cattle are doing the job for us. And it's similar with the stock routes. So, you know, our view is that we'd be quite happy to see graziers do it for no fee at all. Hope to get a result politically within the next 6 months. But if we can't, we will be looking in the budget cycle this time next year to put in place concessional arrangements to try and take that impost off those graziers at a local level. Yeah. Now, that may cost council some money, but it's something that we believe should be a priority for our region, particularly in light of the contribution that the beef production sector makes to our local economy. Yeah.
Is there a dollar value in how much you collect at the moment?
Look, I don't actually have that figure at hand right now, but I can find that out and let you know. Yeah. I think a lot of producers probably tend to run the gauntlet and not necessarily come and pay and get the permit. And I think that's just a symptom of the system. You know, it's just another cost in a time of drought that they don't need and in many cases can't afford. So what we collect at the moment probably isn't a true representation of how much is actually happening out there, but I can certainly get that information and get it back to you. Yeah, happy to do that.
Do you think with the upcoming fire season that it may cause a bit of a fire risk, the growth along the side of the road? Like, rural farming maybe should be brought in to deal with that, or you think not so much?
Yeah, definitely. We've had good rain in the early part of this year. That has meant that there is now a significant body of fuel out there, and in consultation with the appropriate fire authorities, they are concerned about the amount of fuel in the South Burnett region. We certainly are having conversations with them about how we can mitigate the risk of fire through controlled burning, because that clearly needs to happen and happen soon. Because as we move into the winter season, as we know, that country will hay off, as they typically call it, a process of it frosts and it goes dry. If we don't have rain throughout winter, we then have the risk of having this large body of fuel out there. And having the cattle graze on the sides of the roads is a big help for us, because it means that we're getting those nice wide roadways with the footpaths cleared. If we can have the cattle grazing that off now, then it's going to mitigate the risk of that fuel. But it certainly is an important issue that we can't take our eye off the ball. You know, pre-COVID we were all talking about the bushfires and fuel reduction and bushfire mitigation. It's important that alongside COVID we keep working on this matter. And it is a conversation we're having with QFES and also with the rural fireys. As I get more information on that, I'm happy to share that with you. Yeah, I'll make a note of that. Okay, any further questions, guys? No? Right, well, thanks for being part of the inaugural press briefing for the new council, and if you have any questions at any time, please feel free to give myself or the media team a call. I think we have got some press release documents over there as well that summarise the outcomes of today's meeting, so yeah, feel free to take one of those, and look forward to seeing you again soon enough. Cheers. Yeah, thanks, guys.